stuff. Don't offend anybody. Hey, here's your lesson in life. My dad always say, if you're not pissing someone off, you're not doing a good job. So offend somebody. You're not doing a good job. You're not pissing anyone off.
I was at a concert years ago and they said, comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. And I have loved that quote ever since.
That is awesome. So comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
Yep.
I love it. We're going to make a t-shirt out of that.
But I mean, think about it. Think about so some of our good friends are Australian. They love the C word.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I love it too.
Like, it's not a bad word over there. Yeah. It's like being like, oh, you bitch. Like, it's how we joke around with people here.
Yeah.
It's just a different word. But in America, it's like taboo to say that word.
It's like saying bitch here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, my husband had an Australian drummer for years, so we heard it all the time.
That's the C.N.T.
Yes. For those of you that don't know what it is.
C.N.T.
It's like posse.
Let's f***ing roll.
All right, everybody, welcome back to McBasket Studio. I'm Brad Banyas. You're listening to the Salty MF GOAT, and today's podcast is sponsored by Band Groupies, and we have an amazing guest, Lindsay Odom, who is a photographer, a promoter, all in the music space, and she's just an awesome human being. And so we thought we'd sit down today, and all the musicians we're interviewing, we'd like to get the kind of behind the scenes from Lindsay. So Lindsay, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, it's good to see you. It's good to see you. We've talked on and off for a while.
Yeah, like 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years. She couldn't fit me in her schedule, guys. So this is amazing that she actually came in. So. Well, tell everybody, so, obviously you had a love for music and photography and, why this business? Why,
I'm a glutton for punishment and don't like getting paid. That's why. No, so I'm older than I look. I'm in my
27?
I'm 37. But when I was in high school, I took a photography class, and it was a film class. We had a dark room in our classroom. Fell in love with photography then and kind of just ran with it ever since. Always just had a love for music. I was a worship leader in another life. I, have just been in music in some way or another most of my lifetime, whether it was choir when I was in school or church or whatever. And then, as I got older, I kind of just thought maybe I could pair the two together. And So I was living in Arizona. I've been in Georgia for 5 years now. But I was living in Arizona, this is probably 10 years ago, and I reached out to this random guy that I happen to know of through a paddleboard group that I was part of. And I was like, hey, you do music. I kind of want to get into concert photography. Would you mind if I shot some of your shows? And he was like, yeah, sure. Never went, never did it. And then we kind of just naturally didn't talk again. And then months later, he reached out again, and he was like, hey, what's up? We started talking, and now we're married.
Oh, that's right. So Trey, good man out there. You're a smart guy. Also, by the way, when she lived in Arizona, she could still hit a metal plate, a small one, at 1,000 yards out. So we were talking guns before this. So she's serious.
I could. Gotta love that 6'5" Creedmoor.
Yeah, I love it. That's awesome.
But yeah, so I kind of just started taking photos for him of his shows, and he was a professional musician and had been doing it for multiple years and played at places like Dierks Bentley Whiskey Row and other big venues in Arizona. And I just started taking pictures for him and realized I didn't suck at it, and kind of just went from there and, took photos of other friends that had bands and things like that. And then kind of stopped with the music photography for a while outside of doing stuff for my husband. And I moved more into the writing side of it. So I actually wrote for a publication called Cowboy Lifestyle Network for probably 4 years. So they actually made rodeo mainstream popular. So they're partnering with people like the Dallas Cowboys, with Wrangler, with all these huge brands that go to all the different rodeos and NFR and stuff like that up in Vegas. Wrote for them for multiple years, and then just kind of wasn't doing it for me anymore. And then I happened to meet a guy named Aaron Shriver. I saw it on Facebook. He was like, hey, looking for writers and photographers for my publication. We're out of Chicago. So I reached out, and he's like, damn, you're actually a good writer. Can you take pictures? I was like, yeah. So I started taking pictures and doing concert reviews, and I've been doing that for the last 3 years now with them, with Melodies and Memories out of Chicago. So it's fun. It's a lot of travel. It's a lot of, last minute lens rentals and gas money, but I love it.
Well, your work's good. I like for you to send us some of your work after so we can put it on this podcast, because it's really good. So I love that. And then, obviously you were talking about, we've interviewed a ton of bands in here now, and the biggest thing they say is, we're not marketers, we're not social media people, we're musicians. Mm-hmm. And I know that aspect from you of being around the photography and the writing, and then you kind of moved into helping people around their marketing and bands. And it's such a critical thing to have someone you trust, I think, as a musician or a band, because it's something that most of them aren't good at. Now, some are. Some, I don't want to say they're not all, because I know, like, Kel's, call out to her. She does all of her marketing stuff. She manages her brand to the T, and she does a really good job. But it's hard. So
it is.
Like, what is that pretty consistent? That what I just said that you?
Yeah. So that's any creative. Well, anyone in general. Like, it's hard to write. Even think about bios. It's hard to write about yourself. It's hard for me to write about myself. Like, the bio on my website is literally a list of random shit that I like, and that I'm just a smart ass and I'm super sarcastic. And I love
that about you, by the way.
Thank you. But I just kind of played into that, and I was like, if that's not someone's cup of tea, that's fine. That means they're not the type of person that I want to work with, and that's fine. Not everybody is the right fit for everybody, but it is very hard to write about yourself. And I feel like for creatives, it's even harder because they're so one-track minded with whatever their art is, that it's hard to transfer that over into, writing their own captions for Instagram, or like web copy, or whatever it might be, or even, EPKs and things like that, which every venue, every booking agency ever wants. Yeah. And so that's kind of where I come in, is I created a brand that's kind of a one-stop shop for everybody. I do anything from web design to bios to EPKs to obviously the photography aspect of it. I can do live shows. I can do promo photos for album covers or whatnot. I go to Nashville fairly often to work with a few specific people in order to do that. So,
Well, it's got to be fun. It's got to, you get to meet all these different people and travel. So, a lot of people that, if you travel a lot, sometimes it kind of sucks. I got to be honest with you. There's a point like where you want to travel, but I get to a point like I don't want to go anywhere. So
yeah, I got a last minute approval to shoot the Shine Down Dance Kid Dance concert at Bridgestone Arena in Nashville on May 10th. So I got the approval the evening of May 8th, and so I was like, crap.
Yeah, I gotta go.
But I wasn't told where I was shooting from. So you can either shoot from the pit, which is between the barricade and the stage, that area that they block off where security usually is, or you can shoot from front of house, which is the sound booth. I was like, I'm not going to risk going all the way to Nashville and not having a lens. So I rented a lens real quick from a spot in Atlanta. Thank God I did, because I drove up there, but I also drove back that night. I rarely ever stay the night somewhere because, I've got 4 dogs at home. I can't leave them at home by themselves all night. But I drove up to Nashville. It was 3.5 hours plus the time change, so it feels like 4.5 hours. We left the concert early at about 10:30 Nashville time and still didn't get home till 3:30 in the morning. That was the day before Mother's Day when we both had to work an event at a vineyard. So
long day.
Long day, lots of driving, lots of Buc-ee's stops.
Yeah, I love Buc-ee's. Well, you'll get a kick out of this. So we had media passes for the 420 Fest, and obviously Zach was there. Our partners, Open Heart Media, do a lot of our video. They were there on site, and I was there, and it was funny. I was down in the pit, and I'm like, everyone's got these fancy cameras, and my redneck ass is walking around with my phone. But it was cool because I was right there. I was right up on the stage. I got some killer video, but I just laughed like this guy came and goes, dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm filming, dude. He's like, you're on a freaking iPhone. But actually, it came out pretty good. Check out some of my work on saltymf.com. But it was fun. I kind of really, it was cool to be up there and get that close because you feel the energy.
You do. It's fun.
Yeah. My eardrums are blasted from the.
So funny you say that. I shot one. It was my first major concert that I was able to shoot, and it was Jake Owen at the Tabernacle. One of my favorite venues to shoot at. It's
That's
incredible. Awesome. He's one of my favorite country artists, so it was great that was, my first official show that I got to shoot. When you're in the pit, oftentimes the stage is pretty high, right?
Yeah.
Which means the speakers are high, which means the speakers are right
in
at
your
ear height.
Yeah.
It sounded like I was underwater for about a week and a half afterwards. So after that, I reached out to a bunch of other music photographers that I knew. I was like, I need to not blow my eardrums out at 37 years old. What can I do? And everybody recommended, it's a funny name, but it's called Eargasm.
Eargasm.
So
now available.
If you guys want eargasms, use the code Lindsi Rian Creative, and you can get 10% off.
That's awesome. Great name, by the way. Awesome name.
It is a great name. But it dampens above a certain decibel. So I can have those in, and they're just the silicone baffled earplugs. Yeah. Have those in. I can be this far away from the speakers, and I'm fine. I can also leave them in throughout the concert and still talk to people because it's not dampening. Yeah. The vocal levels, just the highs and lows of the bass and treble and stuff like that. So they will save your life.
That's awesome. Eargasm. Hey, we'll send you the bill, Eargasm, for the the free advertising. But yeah, that's awesome. It was, to me, it was, when we were younger, we're at concerts and you're up close, but it was just really like 420 that was my first time to 420 Fest. I'd never been to 420 Fest. So it was really, it was a good time. And we got some crazy interviews, like just all kinds of people. We were interviewing all the vendors and just people and whatever. So because everyone's focused on the musicians, like, let's get the feel. That's why I was interested in talking to you more, like the behind the scenes stuff, like at a concert or whatever. To me is like, that's where like the good shit happens. That's the fun stuff,
It's a lot of fun. And every venue is different. So, obviously Live Nation is going to handle their stuff differently than a regularly privately owned venue. Live Nation's a lot more of a stickler about things and stuff like that. So you always have a handler at the Live Nation venues. You have to, check your camera equipment between sets. Every concert ever, you're pretty much only allowed the first 3 songs. So you have about 15 minutes to get your shot, and then you're done. Then you either have to bring your camera back to your car, which is not ideal usually because it's super far away, or you have to check your camera, which also isn't ideal because that's a lot of equipment that you're trusting in someone you don't know to not lose or break or whatever. Every once in a while you luck out and a venue will be like, or even the tour manager be like, yeah, you can shoot the first 3 from the pit, the rest of it you can shoot from your seat, the crowd, whatever. Which that's always nice because sometimes things happen later on in the show that you absolutely want to get, that they pull out all the stops later in the shows usually, right? But, the privately owned ones and smaller venues are usually a little chiller about
now
stuff
that you say
like
that, I think there was some kind of rules about being in the pit. I just kind of went in it when it's, sorry about that. I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know what to do with my hands. I don't know what to do. So they're probably, this guy has no idea what the hell he's doing. So, but it was quite an experience. So it's really, our photographer who's usually here in studio today, Austin, he had a new baby. Congratulations. So he's dealing with a new baby. So that's awesome. But it's just amazing. Like, like I've seen some of your photography and like what he does, like the moments like that you catch. That's what's really cool to me. Like you can see, oh, this is a great photo, but then like you catch somebody doing something like, and you're like, how did you catch that person doing that? Like we had a lady on the show and she's awesome. Erica, you're awesome. I'm gonna call you out. I put in a Zen and nicotine. She's like, is that nicotine? I'm like, she's like, yeah. She goes, oh man, let me try that. And it was kind of off camera, right? Whatever. And but Austin had and she goes, later on, she goes, oh, I wish you guys would have got me taking my first nicotine. I'm like, oh, we got it, And it was just like, how did he know that moment to do it? That always amazes me about a good photographer.
Yeah, and it's like any event, you're gonna feel it out, right? Yeah. You're gonna feel the energy of it. You're gonna feel the vibe of it. Country concerts are completely different than rock concerts. Rock concerts, you're gonna have people spazzing out, running all over the stage. The Shinedown, one of his openers were Beartooth.
Oh wow!
And Caleb Shomo was ADD incarnate on that stage. He was all over the place. He was, thrashing around like he was in a mosh pit. And
which I kind of like personally, but
I do too. So that versus I photographed the Riley Green concert at the new Atkins Ford Arena in Athens recently. And, the first 3 songs, he kind of stood there with his guitar and it was very mellow. And he was interacting with the crowd and stuff, but it wasn't like he was all over the place. He kind of stayed in one little area. And the whole time I'm just like, please move. Please move.
Yeah, I've already gotten a shot 15,000 times.
Right. I'm like, I don't need 15 minutes worth of you standing there playing the guitar.
I got time in the pit. My pit time's almost
right.
up. Yeah.
So at the last minute, he came over. He kind of walked side stage to where I was, and I got the money shot. And I was so excited because, it's Riley Green. Every woman of any age pretty much is obsessed with him right now. So even the handler there, she was like, girl, you should sell that. I'm like, if I could, I would. But I signed things that say I can't
Have
sell
you tried
these
the eargasm?
But, country is so different than rock. Yeah. Rock, you usually have the lights, you have the smoke, you have all the production. Country, sometimes you do, but it's not as much. Yeah. So you just get the vibe of the entire show and you kind of just feel it out. And then you'll know what side of the stage to stand on, too. And you can move from side to side.
So did he take his shirt off?
No.
Well, there you go. That would have been the money.
There would have been
a money maker. Next time, Riley, take the tee off, dude.
He did just take the mustache off, so
got rid of the stash. The old porn stashes in, like the 70s porn stashes.
I think there would have been a riot. There were a lot of UGA girls there.
Yeah.
So
we just had, talking about Athens, we just had the Gringos. Have you ever listened to the Gringos?
I haven't listened to them. I've heard of them though.
Yeah, they're Athens band. There's some of them are so they were just in last week. They were a great band. The guy's voice, Jacob's voice, is amazing. I'll
have to check them out.
Yeah, but it was cool because you kind of get that. They've kind of still got that college kind of band, but they're better. They're better than just on a college band, but they just got an energy feel to them.
Mm-hmm.
They're crazy and hopping around. So did you go down to what was the Porch Fest? Did you guys go down there this past weekend?
No, I didn't.
Yeah.
There's so many things that I want to go to, but just don't have the time for.
Yeah. Well, there's something it's amazing, call out to live music junkies. Gina Boykin, Gina's
amazing.
She's amazing. She captures I don't even know how Gina, I have no idea how you do it, but she captures everything going on.
I think she has
Atlanta.
Secret clones of herself, and she just sends them all out to the same place.
She's amazing. Check out Live Music Junkies. But she's got every event and whatever. But she is just an amazing resource to what the hell's going on. But with the things she sends out for the week, it's like 100 deep.
I know.
And you're like,
I remember
shit.
when I met her when she was starting it.
Yeah.
And it went from a one-page picture on Instagram of, hey, here's what's happening around Cherokee, Cobb, Fulton County, to now it is what it is. And She's all over the place, like you said. And she has, every region of Georgia
Yeah.
she has covered of what's going on for live music, it seems like. So it's
It's
awesome.
I interviewed her in the pit at 420, because that's coming out next week. So our promo video that Open Heart did for us for 420. So check out Gina on the event. So yeah, she's amazing. So how do we get you involved with what we're doing at Band Groupies? Because I think it would be an amazing thing. Like I told you, all these artists ask for, I don't know what to do. I don't know how to do it. So like, what can we? We're live. We can say whatever we want. What can we put together for them?
Yeah. I mean, we can
I'm
definitely
gonna put you on the spot. Sorry about that.
I mean, we can definitely talk and even come up with like a package deal for them. Like if they come on the podcast, they get some sort of salty MF discount or something. But, I go to LindsyRianCreative.com. It's Lindsay Ryan with all I's because my mom just wanted to be weird like that. But it's Lindsay, LINDSIRIAN creative.com. You can find everything there. I do packages, but I also do a lot of custom packaging. So if somebody needs something that isn't necessarily what I offer and it's something I can do, I'm happy to, work with people on it. And if I don't know how to do it, I know someone that does.
Yeah, and so you're doing anything like from album cover type stuff to writing, like you talked about earlier, to helping them with their pages, marketing pages. So it's really kind of a one-stop shop for them, right?
I can build websites. I can write EPKs, one sheets, all that fun stuff. Write bios, and then obviously the photography as well. And I mean, I'm a teacher full time, and so being on summer break, I have 2 months off to where my schedule is super, open and flexible, and I'm able to travel.
Her grammar
more.
is going to be really, really
Your
good.
grammar. I am an ELE teacher, so your grammar will be spot on, and your spelling will be prime.
Can you check every one of my emails that goes out? Because I'm absolutely horrible. And my handwriting, my penmanship is like, my teachers just, God bless them. All my teachers that tried to take care of me. So I really appreciate that. But I'm absolutely horrible with grammar. I love all this Grammarly stuff now and spell check and now Chat GPT because it like literally someone would be like, is this guy in like third grade? I mean, what? It looks terrible.
Well, I teach fifth grade, so I got you.
Well,
it's fine.
Yeah, if I can get to that fifth grade level, I'm good. I think I might be successful. If you can get me to that,
I'm also a special ed teacher, so if you need accommodations and goals, I got you.
I absolutely need as much help as I can get in the world. So I'll never forget talking about. So I'm from Atlanta, but I moved. My dad got transferred to Boston, so I lived in Boston from like into third grade to eighth grade, and Boston's a different spot. I got to call my boys out in Boston. They're you guys are different. I love you, but they're rowdy and just different. And I was so far when I came back into the debauchery of compared to the South of whatever. So I was in my PE class and I had this shirt. So Tijuana, the PUSSY word, posse. I had that tee. This is eighth grade, right? And I'm in my PE class, so definitely I should have had some special help. But I'm in my PE class, and God bless my PE teacher. She's such a doll. She comes up, she's like, "You can't wear that." And I was like, "Wear what?" She's like, "You have a T-shirt that says Tijuana Posse on it, and you're in school."
Your shirt's a little inappropriate, Brad.
And I was clueless. I was about like, really? Like you because in Boston they'd be like, yeah, whatever. It's just another T-shirt. But see, I need a lot of help. Can you help me? I'm probably worse now than I was then.
Oh, same.
I love it.
I have a teacher alter ego that I have to turn on.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, that's so funny because we're in the people see me now with my beard and all that, but we've been in the technology space for 30 years, so professional space, dealing with banks and all kinds of crazy stuff. And so I used to have to wear a three-piece suit and all this stuff. So when people see me now, like I saw someone that we'd done work with a long time ago, and they didn't see me in a while, and I was like, "Yeah, John, good to see you," and he's like looking at me, he's like, "Who are you?" I'm like, "I'm Brad Band." She's, "Oh my God, what?" Like, so I get it. You have that kind of. This is kind of my alter ego, this side of our business, of who I like to be,
So before I taught, I worked in an all-men's max custody prison in Arizona.
Yes.
Where you can't have a filter.
Yeah.
You can't be nice. You can't.
Yeah.
You just can't. Like, you have to be kind of an asshole.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you're going to get eaten alive, literally.
Right.
And so I went from that, leaving that job in June, to teaching 4th grade in July.
And you're probably begging to go back to the prison side.
I had to put a leash on my mouth so hard because obviously working in prison, you have to kind of say whatever you want.
Yeah.
And you have to be a jerk to people to an extent. Otherwise, they're going to think they can railroad you and get away with things that they shouldn't. So, yeah, I went from that. I remember one day a kid.
That's a book, by the way.
A little girl. She had been a bully all year. She had a bad home life. She came around. She was fine by the end of the year. She had a stain on her sock. And this little boy was like, ew, it looks like you peed yourself. Thank you, Jesus, what came out of my mouth did, because I looked at him and I was like, quit being such a little jerk.
Yeah.
And he's like,
ooh, you said jerk.
You said a bad word. Thank God there was another teacher in that room. She's like, she didn't say anything wrong, and you are being a jerk.
Yeah.
And I was like,
yeah.
I'm so sorry.
Shut up, you little son of a bitch.
But it was also my first year teaching, so I was paranoid about getting in trouble for everything on top of that. Plus, 4th graders are still babyish, and, like, you can look at them wrong and hurt their feelings. And I felt horrible, but at the same time, I was like, I knew what that girl had been through, and him saying that just pissed me off.
Yeah, well,
But I was like, oh, so many other worse things could have come out of my mouth just then.
Absolutely. Call the shanker in the jail. Hey, we got a problem here. I need you to, when you get out, call me. Got this pain in the ass for 4th grade kid. Just kidding, kid. Just kidding. But well, that should be a book in itself.
Moral of the story: don't be a bully.
Yeah, don't be an asshole. That's
Pretty
what my dad
much.
always used to say. You can be anything you want in life, just don't be an asshole.
Yeah.
So, but it's kids are kids. I mean, shit, adults are worse than kids. So
for
people
sure.
talk behind everybody's back. People that look you right in the eye and smile at you and act like they're all sweet, and then they secretly are,
They bless your heart.
yeah, bless your. You know what that means in the South?
Oh yeah.
It means basically fuck off. Yeah. So bless your heart is not. If someone says bless your heart, that's not good. Just tell them to.
They're
piss
not
off.
being nice. No.
I love it though. But that's the contrast between like where I lived in Boston compared to like here. I'm so grateful for that because it kind of it gave me kind of a thicker skin. You know what I mean? And it's
For sure.
But and I think that's good because I think you need that kind of, life is not. I always tell my kids we live in a bubble. Like we live in a bubble, and everyone lives, wherever they're at. It could be a bubble, but I'm like, there's places that just like we went. I won't call the city out because I'm not gonna call it out. But we went to this place, and we're like, me and my boys are walking down the street, and there's no one out. Like it's Friday, and then it's like Saturday, and there's no one out, and I'm like this is a pretty big city. Like, what's going on? Like, somebody get on the internet and figure out where's all the freaking people?
Yeah.
And the crime rate was 290-something% over that,
geez.
Yeah. And so we were like, oh shit, I didn't feel, did you feel like they're right? It was like, no, but I guess they figured we were crazy as shit. They didn't come after us because we're the only 3 guys walking around down here at midnight, So anyways, great city. I'm not going to call it out, but.
No, me and my co-teacher were talking about that recently about how regionally it's so different everywhere. I mean, I grew up in the West Coast, and she laughs at me all the time. She'll send me a message. So I teach remote, and she'll send me a message on Zoom, and she's like, I don't think you can say that. And I'm like, well, I said, I can't take it back now, so sorry. And she's like, I laugh at just how not Southern you are. And I'm like, I think that's a compliment, but...
But it's so all the word police, just bugs the shit out of me. Like everyone's worrying about what they say if you just feel it, say. Don't just come out and be like an asshole and say something totally, off the wall. But if you're making a comment on something you believe in and you say, who gives a shit? Let it go. Oh,
right.
I couldn't say that or I'd get fired. Well, you probably got to get a different job if you're gonna word police everything you say. I'm not good at that. I don't have a filter.
I have to just because
I'm holding back now that I know that I don't want your kids to hear this. Now I'm holding
those
back on
kids are not allowed on any of my social media
the
ever.
McBastard Studio. Kids come in for a field day at the McBastard Studio. They have a good time.
No, but I mean, it's true. Doing what I've done with the prison and just living in the West Coast in general, like, it's pretty damn hard to offend me. I
Yeah.
don't think I've ever been offended ever. You
Well,
could say the most heinous stuff and be like, cool.
Yeah.
Whatever.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Like-
That's what I like about it. And also dealing around, just being around different musicians and stuff. It was funny. We had, I can't remember who was in, but they were talking about, it was the Muckers. They're an also awesome band. If you ever kind of like Irish rock type, the Muckers, they're amazing. But they were in and they'd gone to a show, and they're dropping the F-bomb all the time. And it's called the Muckers. They're Irish guys.
Right.
I mean, they're drinking beer and whiskey and whatever. I mean, they're Irish. And anyways, he was like, the guy came up and he's like, you can't sing this song because it has bastard in it or something like that. And the guy's like, are you effing kidding me? Are you telling us we can't sing this song? It's like, these are grown-ups. Like,
right.
But it was just so funny that people would just get so sensitive about stuff. Don't offend anybody. Hey, here's your lesson in life. My dad always say, if you're not pissing someone off, you're not doing a good job. So offend somebody. You're not doing a good job. You're not pissing anyone off.
I was at a concert years ago, and they said, comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable. And I have loved that quote ever since.
That is awesome. So comfort the disturbed and disturb the comfortable.
Yep.
I love it. We're going to make a t-shirt out of that.
But I mean, think about it. Think about going, so some of our good friends are Australian. They love the C word.
Oh, absolutely.
And
I love it too.
Like, it's not a bad word over there.
Yeah.
It's like being like, oh, you bitch. Like, it's how we
yeah.
joke around with people here.
Yeah.
It's just a different word. But in America, it's like taboo to say that word.
It's like saying bitch here.
Right.
Yeah.
And I mean, my husband had an Australian drummer for years, so we heard it all the time.
That's the C.N.T.
Yes. For those of you that don't know what it is,
C.N.T.
It's like posse.
The Tijuana posse.
But like they say it constantly, and it's almost a term of endearment. Like it's just being a smartass and
on you, mate. On you, mate.
Right.
Yeah. So in the 90s, I had a business, and it was a joint venture with an Australian company, and they were just awesome guys. And but like their whole outlook on life, like the main program at the time, we had something happen with a customer, and it was like urgent. And I'm like calling him, like, "Hey man, where's Gerard at, man? We got to get this fixed." He goes, "Oh mate, he's off surfing for 30 days." I'm like, "What? What do you mean?" He goes, "Yeah, he's catching a big wave off the, whatever, Brisbane or whatever." And I'm like, holy shit, like these people don't give a shit. Like this guy's gone for 30 days and he's the only guy that can fix it. So,
if I was ever going to move to another country, it'd be Australia.
Yeah, it's Sydney's beautiful.
We were supposed to go for our honeymoon, but we have to go to Brazil for our friend's wedding instead this year.
That would be fun.
Right.
Yeah.
So we're going to go in a couple of years, save up for it. But
Sydney Harbor, I mean, it was amazing. The architecture there is amazing. It was funny though, because they're kind of, I would say, brisk with women. They're not like, it's not like here, you treat someone, you're respectful, whatever.
Right.
They're kind of, I don't say they're rude, but they're just different. And I had landed at 11:30 at night and been on a plane for 21 hours. Mm-hmm. And I was just tired as shit, but I'm like, I'm going to go drink some beer because I'm not going to bed at this point. I've been on this plane. So I'm downtown Sydney, and I'm walking around, and I'm going into these bars, and one bar, like the literally guy goes, "Hey, this is a private party. You can't come in here." Well, I thought he was like screwing with me, because I was American,
mm-hmm.
and because it's like a bar, and
right.
So I was sitting down, I'm drinking. He's like, "No, mate, like this is a private party." And I'm like, "No, you're screwing me, you C-U-N-T." But anyway, so it literally was a private party, but after about 30 minutes, I realized he wasn't screwing with me, and I thought he was. So I left.
My bad.
But I went to a bar, and there were a lot of ladies in there. I was talking to these women, and they're looking at me, and they're like, "Where are you from?" I'm like, "Well, I'm from Georgia." Well, they thought it was like Georgia next to Russia.
Like the country.
Yeah, the country, yeah. They're like, "No, like the United States." Are like, "Oh, well, that's just, like, men don't talk to us like this." I'm like, "What do you mean? Like, what do you mean?" Like, "Well, they don't engage and just sit here and talk like this."
Right.
And I was like, "Well, that's weird," So, anyways, it's kind
different
of a
cultures,
strange environment.
I've told my students that it's still weird for me. I've been in Georgia for 5 years. I lived in Southeast Tennessee for 3, but it's still weird when I get called ma'am.
Yeah.
Or like I hear the ma'am and sir. I get it.
It's just
I get that it's a respect thing and whatever, but I grew up in the West Coast. We don't say that.
Yeah.
And it's not we're being rude. We just don't.
Yeah. You're like so you grow up in the South. I had the benefit of living in the South and the North. But it's just like a term of endearment. Like it's like,
Right.
and you like if you didn't say ma'am or yes sir, like you got in trouble.
Right.
It's like everyone's been like, so that poor bastard that now is like 50 and he's still calling someone ma'am. It's because someone sat there and like, you say that,
Right.
So, but I hate that too. When people are like, sir, yes sir, yes sir. I'm like, how old are you? Like, well, I'm 40. I'm like, well, just call me Brad.
Right.
It's disrespect though.
It is. It still takes getting used to.
Yeah. Well, you're young enough; it won't matter. There's a point where I think everyone starts calling you Sam or sir or ma'am like when you're old. So that's just because I'm old.
I say it sarcastically to my students all the time. Like that little girl the other day, she did something silly, and I was like, "Ma'am," and she looks at me and she's like,
"Ma'am."
What?
Oh my God, that's hilarious. Well, you've been awesome, and I mean, I appreciate you coming in and sharing like what you do because your work's amazing.
Thank you.
I want to get some of that work so we can show and adhere to put it to the podcast so we can share your work. And tell everybody once more where to find you, and we'll wrap it up.
Yeah, so on all socials and my website, it's just lindsyriancreative.com or at Lindsi Rian Creative, LINDSIRIAN Creative. If you don't know how to spell creative, CREATIVE.
There's no N in there.
No N in there. But yeah, and it's not only big bands that I work with, it's, local musicians. I've done a lot of stuff up at Six's Tavern in Canton.
Yeah, been there.
Or Cartersville. I've done stuff
spot.
at Mad Life, good old times incoming. So I'm kind of all over the place, but if you need help, shoot me a message.
Good old days there and coming. We used to have that. That was down on Roswell Road when I was a kid. I spent a lot of time at good old days down there in Roswell, across from the American. Was it called American Pie? That's what I think it was called. It's a long. You won't know because you're not from here. And was it American Pie? I'm 20 years older than you, so I'm old. So I'm a sir now. Well, you've been awesome. I really appreciate you coming on. So
Absolutely.
Check out Trey Odom too, also as well.
Yep.
Her husband's a singer and musician. He's very good. We've tried to get him on a couple times, but he's been booked. But we'll get him on at some point. But that's all today. Once again, this is sponsored by Band Groupies. Love music more. Go check it out if you're an artist or a musician or a fan. It'll tell you where your favorite artist is, where live music is, and it'll keep you notified at all times what people are up to. So that's all for today. Let's go.